Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on such a powerful and, like I said, timely film. I guess we should start with Ali because I know this film is based on the real story of the spider killer, Saeed Haneh, who killed 16 women between 20,000 and 2001. When did you first sort of hear about his story? Were you aware of it growing up? Was it something that was, sort of in the zeitgeist?
Yeah, I mean, hi everyone. Of course, this was a huge case, the actual case which we're inspired by. When it happened, in terms of the scale of it, only, this guy, as you were mentioning, killed 16 people in a year. And, obviously it was covered by media and, it was out there. But I have to say, like, if you want to compare it with, say, like an American standard, this would have been national news like every day if this would happen in Alabama or Vermont or whatever. But this was a bit different in Iran also because I think that there was a sense that the government didn't want it to like give it more space. One of the reasons, or being because the city of Mashhad where this happened, it's a special place. I can get into that later, and why and how, and also the fact that there were sensitivities around the city and to present it in a very like positive way, and also the fact that the in the actual case Saeed Hanai, the guy who he was a very devout religious guy, and for the government to sort of accept, that the media is writing about this devout Muslim that has killed so many people. It was just like I think they were not, they were reluctant to say the least for the news to sort of spread out. But that being said, yeah, I mean, me and my friends, I was living in Tehran at the time. We were discussing this constantly, and we were discussing like how it's going to happen, and when he was caught, there was this sense that he could get away, because as crazy as it sounds, there has been precedence about this happening, this sort of murder happening, and then the people would refer to some fatwa or some sort of a religious cleric, a religious sermon saying like they were inspired by that, and they sort of acted upon something that they thought was lawful, and in some cases they could actually get away with. So this was not completely, unprecedented. Yeah.
And Zar, you have the greatest story ever of how you came to star in this movie, for which I should mention you won the Best Actress Award at Cannes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You came to it first as the casting director. When you were, I don't want to say just casting because that's a huge job as well, but what was it about this story and script that immediately sparked to you?
Well, yeah, I'm basically actress, but then when I heard about Ali's project, and he was looking for a casting director, and I immediately suggested myself. I know the story. I was living that time in Iran, and the fear, the whole atmosphere for me was really familiar, and I really wanted to, just for the first time, at least once, being involved in a diaspora movie in a very correct way, because I have this critical with Iranian movies outside Iran. Always, I don't believe in them, especially because of actors and accent, body language, and all these. And as a woman, I think this story is important. And I remember that time we had, as Ali says, everyone was we couldn't believe that this guy is just killing these women, 16 women in a year, and nobody stopped him. And I personally, I had this impression that someone from government just supports him. And there were, for me, I had many doubts about this project, about this story. And I think this project, when I came on board and I started my research, and there is a documentary on this story, and kind of many documents, newspapers, photos, and I heard about all these prostitute stories and watched some documentaries about them, and that helped me to understand it better. And that's why I think it's still important to watch it, because it's kind of, we can make it, especially it's amazing because I don't know if you know, I think somehow you all know there is a big demonstration in Iran every day, and it's been, I think, since a month ago. And somehow this movie is just coming out everywhere in Europe, in US, in this atmosphere, and more than ever, I think this movie is important and this story is important. It's really related to women situation. Ali didn't want to make a movie, feminist movie, or a movie about women, but in the end, for me, this movie is really related to women's stories, and it's about women and the way he just made it without hijab, without any censorship. Somehow we see their body, their hair, their skin, and every time I remember how he filmed everything, even with Rahimi, with the journalist, you feel this skin, you feel their body, and that's why I think, from the beginning the story was anyway important, and today it's for me, more than ever, something, we have something to tell with this story. It's an opportunity to have this movie these days, because we can just talk about these women in Iran.
And I believe you two worked together for years as casting director and director. At what point did it shift? It was pretty late in the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it took 3 years, actually, this casting. We decided to do, from the beginning, we didn't want to go for those super Iranian stars, and somehow we decided to, gather a cast, a mix of actors and non-actors. And at some point, Ali went to Iran, and I organized a week of audition there with Iranian stage actors and actors from cinema. And that's amazing too, because for the first time, I think actors from inside of Iran, they just wanted and they accepted to work and to be involved in an international movie, which is a bit problematic anyway. We knew the government won't like it, and so in the end, the main role, Mehdi Bajestani, he's living in Iran. His son in the movie, he's living in Iran, and we have some other crew, backstage from Iran. So yeah, it just took. We met more than 500 actors all over Europe and in Iran, and and then Ali had a very special idea about this journalist. We were discussing a lot about this journalist, her motivations, and even physically how she is, and we couldn't find her. He wasn't happy with none of those actresses we met in Europe and in Iran, and finally, after 2 years of casting, we met a young, very talented actress in Tehran, and she wanted to do it, and I was feeling that I just want her in this project, because I just felt that she wants something more than, she wanted to change her professional life, and she wanted to do something bigger than what she's doing in Iran. And she joined us in Jordan, where we shot in Jordan. And only a week before shooting, she changed her mind. I think at some point she got surprised even with her own decision. just feeling that, okay, this is just happening, and you're gonna be in it without your hijab. And Ali didn't want to censor it. We had this discussion if we can do, only because of two scenes. That's so sad because Rahimi is almost outside and always with hijab. Only in these two scenes in hotel room, actually, she is without hijab, with short and t-shirt, and even for that, Ali didn't want to, we could change it somehow and put something. So then I became, the face of this movie, and that journalist for me, I mean, maybe because I had this chance to work on the casting for 3 years, I knew her, but I had some questions about her, and I never got the answer when I was doing the casting. And when I just had this character in my hand and started my own research and just trying to find her in myself, this is the way I work always when I work on a character. I just try to find it in first basic things in myself, and then work trying to, because I believe everyone has, any character can exist in us. This is what I believe, and somehow I just started, to call my journalist friends who were working at that time in Iran, and I heard their sad stories about harassment, and this background with harassment actually with me came into the story, and somehow I linked my own experience of life in Iran to this character. And the whole process, the whole journey of this movie for me is just like a miracle. The movie is existing today is a miracle. I became the main role is a miracle. And then this award for me, as I said, I never stopped working in industry, and somehow I found my way. And, I always I had my hope, I can do something. One day, that day will be there one day. And that night in Cannes, it was just like somehow a message of justice in a world that almost, you think there is no justice.
And that's fantastic, and I actually want that to be your next movie. If you could do that, is her story. I do want to remind everyone this movie is in theaters now, and it is a very special film, so please spread the word. Thank you so much for being a great audience, and thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you.